Hello, everyone. We're going to look at a game from 2019 between Alexander Morozevich with the white pieces, who was rated 2656 at the time, versus Sergey Domogaev with the black pieces, who was rated 2366. So quite a bit of rating difference there. This game took place at the 5th Starodubtsev Memorial in Russia and was a rapid play event with each side having 15 minutes on the clock. Game started off E4 for Morozevich and A6, the St. George defense from Domogaev. D4 and now C5. So you see now the possibility for white to transpose into several different types of openings, and this could be the motivation for black to play such offbeat systems sometimes, because if white is not careful, he can easily, you know, fall into a main line and not really um, make black pay um, for playing, a dubious opening. So, for example, say if white played it close to the vest and played a move like knight f3, then after c takes d4, knight takes d4, you can see we're just like in a main line Sicilian, where knight f6 can be played, and black has just simply duped white in the opening. All right. Again, white does not address this opening right at the beginning. Again, black can kind of get away with this opening after, say, like d5, for example. And yeah, he has a slight advantage, but so what? You know, this white should have much more than he would achieve in this position. Let's say after e takes, not queen takes, but just simply knight f6, as if we're playing Scandinavian. And again, this is perfectly okay for white here. I'm sorry, for black. So when the opponent is playing a little weird, we want a little more out of the opening. So for instance here, white has an nice opportunity to play a move like d5, right? And then we can go into these Benoni lines. So for example, after e6, c4, d6, but it leads to rather closed structures, a lot of maneuvering. But if this is your type of game where you like a closed structure, then a move d5 might be your preference. Okay, it leads to an advantage for white, and that's really all you can ask for out of the opening. However, if that is not your style, you shouldn't play d5 and end up in the game a position where you might have an advantage, but you don't feel comfortable with the position, because you want to be comfortable in the position at the end of the day. So what did Morozevich do? Morozevich simply just captured the pawn and kept the game open. The play following is interesting. So e6, bishop e3, and I just want to say Morozevich is not trying to hold on to the pawn, okay, in the amateurish way. What he's doing is he's just planning on castling queenside and developing his pieces in that way. So therefore, he wants to play bishop e3, knight c3, queen d2, and castle queenside, in a typical Sicilian manner. So basically, what white is trying to do is have black play an inferior variation of Sicilian defense. Black could get his pawn back right away with queen a5, but again, you'd just be wasting time at this point. Okay, so for example, let's say knight d2, for example, and let's say he took. Of course, bishop d2 could be played. Knight c4 is the idea behind that. And the queen is pretty much forced to move again because of the threat of bishop to e3, exploiting the weak b6 square. So suffice it to say that the queen didn't come out and grab the pawn because it's dangerous, and black doesn't want to lose any more time in the position. So e6, bishop e3, queen c7, knight c3 now, and now bishop takes c5. Now black saves time. The queen is not in danger, but the problem is that now he's going to lose this dark square bishop. And you can see most of black's pawns are on the light squares. So this leaves a lot of weakness on the dark squares, namely d6 and b6, which stand out immediately. Okay, and this is a problem in mainline Sicilians that that black would play from time to time, where he would play bishop b4 and then trade off the bishop on c3, doubling the pawns. Okay, and this is why in a lot of those lines where bishop b4 is played in Sicilian, black will not even double white's pawns because the price is too great. So here we see a position where black has weakened his dark squares, all right, by getting rid of his powerful light square bishop. I'm sorry, dark square bishop, leaving him with a bad light square bishop. And he hasn't even at least gained any benefit off it. At least in the mainline Sicilian variations, black will at least have double pawns on the c file to compensate for the dark square weakness. Although practice shows more times than not that even that is not enough compensation for the dark square weakness. But here in this position, black has no compensation. There's white does not have double pawns or anything. Black just is simply behind in development and has to worry about how to cover the dark squares. So I think Morozevich has stamped the problem in black's particular system in a very accurate way. Queen g4, immediately attacking g6. Again, dark square issues. King f8. Of course, g6 could be played, but again, what does that do? It weakens the dark squares even further. All right. Another option is to play knight e7. Oops, sorry about that. Another option here is to play knight e7 and try to sacrifice, but again, at the end of the day, without getting into a myriad of variations, black just will not have enough for the pawn after the simple queen takes g7, although it's exciting. But hey, it is a rapid game, so maybe it's worth a shot. But against a strong GM, you're more likely to lose than not. Here, there's just not enough in the position for for black. So in the game, king f8 is played, castles, knight c6, queen g3, and what this does, of course, it avoids just basic moves like knight f6 with tempi, knight e5 with tempi, but also it gets off the diagonal of this bishop right here. After black maybe will want to free itself at some point with d5. All right. So queen g3 is played. Again, this is ugly for black. Knight f6, knight f3, and so now e5, knight d2, and this knight is just simply going to harass the queen. Knight b3, h4, and just simply queen f3. Queen goes back, and now knight d5, e takes d5, e takes d5, and check. King goes to b1. Knight to e7. So you can see here that although white is ahead in development, it's hard for him to get to the king due to the closed nature of the position. So in the next phase of the game, Morozevich wants to deal with that, and see if he can open up lines in his favor. He plays d6, gaining more space, and as you can see, it shuts in this bishop on c8, which in turn shuts in the rook on a8. So if white can break open the position just a little bit, the black king will probably get checkmated, because black just can't get his pieces in the game. So knight c6 happens, bishop c4, threatening mate on f7, queen h5, of course, wanting to exchange queens and defending the mate threat, queen e3, g6 with the idea of getting the king, the g7, and then perhaps bringing that rook on h8 to e8, f4. So of course the idea is to open up the position, king g7, rook hf1, and you can see with the bishop on c4, rook on f1, f7 pawn is weak, so the rook has to come to f8. And I like this move by Morozevich. He plays bishop d5 here, and of course there's several moves that could have been played here, knight c5 for example, but I like bishop d5 because what it does is it forces black to open up the position instead of white using time to open up the position, because the threat is simply bishop takes c6 and then capturing the pawn on e5. So with this threat, this forces e takes f4, and now queen takes f4, and you can see 3 pieces lined up on f7. So now queen e5, and here Morozevich could have just kept the queens on the board and played queen takes h4 or queen f2, anything just to keep the heavy piece attack going. But what he decides to do is go into this ending, which is winning also. So he plays bishop takes c6, queen takes f4, rook takes, b takes, and immediately takes over the open file, rook b8. And I like this next move by Morozevich because a4 keeps the black rook from getting in the game via b5. So g5, knight c5. So now there's pressure being placed on the pawns here on a6 and d7, and also this prevents the bishop coming here at some point, right? Because the knight would just capture it. So for example, say if black had played a5, and let's say at the a5, let's just say c3, right? It keeps the rook from getting into it, right? There's no possibility of this move at this point, because knight would just take on a6. This move would have to be played to try to prepare that move, and then this pawn has to still be protected somehow. And of course, rook e8 makes all of that problematic. So black just simply shuffles the rook back to a8, and now Morozevich slams the door. So basically the career of the rook on a8 is over, and also the career of the bishop on c8 is over. That's it. There's no way to get out. a6 is frozen, and d7 is frozen. So now it's just a matter of putting sufficient pressure on the position to force black to capitulate. So king g6, rook e7, rook a7, just trying to hold on, rook d1, rook a8, just shuffling, rook e8, king goes back, c4, just more torture in the position, f5, rook 1 e7, exchange takes place, and then just king c2. And of course black had enough at this point. I'm surprised he didn't resign 5 moves ago, but he had enough at this point, and decided to resign. There's absolutely no hope in the position. Um, I like the way Morozevich just totally crippled the position. There's no way for Black's pieces ever to get in the game except to be sacrificed. For example, if he tried to play rook a move like rook b8, for example, then White could always keep this rook out of the position by just simply playing king c3, right, guarding the b4 square. There's no good way to get the rook in the position, and as we can see, um, to try to play, for instance, bishop to b7, right, that would lose to knight. I mean, not that Black is not lost already, but that will just lose to knight d7 immediately. It's just miserable position, and a good play against a strong FIDE master. Of course, the opening, Black could have played a little bit better. Okay, like, so I'm not gonna say, oh, the opening is refuted, but um, good reactions by Morozevich, who no doubt probably was like a little surprised by such an unorthodox opening. So that is it for this video. I'm going to be looking at some more games from this tournament. I'd love to hear from you in the comment section. I uploaded this video a few minutes ago, but the sound was messed up on the video, so I did it over. Hope you enjoyed it. Please check my links below. Please donate to my channel if you can, and check the links for DVDs and books if you still read books. On chess, there's some interesting things down there. And also check the rest of my videos. I have about 600 videos on this channel, believe it or not. But I need you to hit that like and subscribe button to bring my videos along in the Google algorithm so that they can be more visible. Because what I find is that when people do discover the content, that they're absolutely like amazed by it. And I have a lot of positive feedback on the video. So it's just a matter of tagging them correctly, etc. And people hitting the thumbs up and subscribing, that definitely bring the content to the forefront. So with that said, I hope you enjoyed this video. Any questions, comments, or variations, or requests, just let me know, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. I'll see you guys on the next video.